my friends, and welcome to episode 124 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudius Pera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Who doesn't love a good underdog story? God knows Kiss is a definition of the underdog. This is a band that should not have made it. And here we are, 50 years later on their end of the road tour. Of course, the band has had its ups and downs in their illustrious career. Each of their downs is an underdog story in itself. For example, we've often talked about music from The Elder on this show, of course, a prime example of the classic underdog story in KISStory. Although maybe debatable, The Elder has the respect of many Kiss fans and is now seen as an important part of KISStory. Now, one album that does not have the respect of fans or the band and is primarily ignored is, of course, Carnival of Souls. On this episode, we asked the question, is Carnival of Souls an underdog similar to The Elder? Will it ever find its place in KISStory as an important contribution to the legacy of Kiss? Is it really so bad, and why is it perceived as such?
And as usual, as it happens in our discussion panels, we are once again joined by our dear friends, Craig Patton and Patrick DeMontini. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good. Still happy to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you.
Oh, yes. Too much fun.
So we have an interesting off-the-topic question that I have a feeling will be directly linked to our topic tonight. So the question is, what is your favorite and least favorite album and why? And how many of us will choose Carnival of Souls as their least favorite? I'm going to start with you, Craig.
I think for me, one of my favorite ones definitely is, like I'd always said, was Creatures of the Night / Elder, right? So those are two of they probably are equal for me. Least favorite would probably be Animalize. I just didn't like that album too much. I don't like a lot of the sound, a lot of the song. It just doesn't do it for me. It's that 80s period where I kind of wandered away and didn't really follow the band as much as I did in the heyday and the after the 80s period. So those would be my two, I think.
And why is it that Creatures is one of your faves?
I think basically because I really like the introduction of Eric Carr, and I think that the sound on that album is really back to the really hard rock. You know, it's for me it's basically that sound, and I love those songs on there. And the same thing as Elder too. I think that those are very mystical songs, and it was a different period of time for the band, and it was like I said, it was underrated for the time that it was released.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for those reasons.
And not to kind of come up with a spoiler, but would you put Carnival of Souls as one of your least favorite albums?
That would be my top. My last, say, the bottom of the list, last three. Yeah.
Okay. Pat, how about you?
Favorite album is hard to say because it's almost impossible because it depends on the period. But if you were going to take me to a torture room and try to force an answer, I would probably go with Rock and Roll Over.
Okay.
Yeah, because first of all, it brings me memories when I was 8, 9 years old. Listening to Kiss and reading comic books and things like that. So, but also I like the sound of that record, and it's really meat and potatoes, and I like every song of that record. It's a toss between that and Dress to Kill.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Dress to Kill, you have core songs on that album.
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Night mainly, but also Come On and Love Me and She, and even Anything for My Baby. So this, really, really cool stuff. My least favorite, Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights. Okay.
Yeah, because the reason being, I like Heart, the band Heart, when they made that out, and they had the same producer for Crazy Nights. I have a problem with Kiss trying. I'm not saying that was their goal, but Kiss sounding like Heart didn't appeal to me.
Okay.
Kiss is Kiss and Heart is Heart. That's my take on that. And I think it was the lowest point in KISStory, I think, in my opinion.
It's not about the era. It's not about the 80s. It's more about that album, right?
That album, because like the 80s, I thought they were going to have a good career with Lyrical, but then things went a little sour after a few albums, mainly, well, not because Vinny left, but also Gene wasn't there as much. So there was an impact. You could tell it showed. So,
okay.
And up until Crazy Nights, it was just like, you could tell they didn't know what to do to regain some sort of popularity.
Okay, got it. Mr. Pasquale Vari.
I have a particular criteria to decide which one's my favorite and least favorite. So to me, if I were in a car and I want to, let some newbie listen to Kiss, what would be for me the quintessential Kiss album? Mm-hmm. I have to say Alive. If you want to know what Kiss was like in their heyday, it would be Alive. Now, I'm hard-pressed to choose Alive 2 only because in Alive 2, they only had the songs from Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun. Yeah. If they played more of a mix of the first 6 albums, that would have been an amazing, amazing live album. So for me, it would have to be Alive. Now, again, I'm in that same scenario. I'm in the car. I got some new people never heard Kiss. What album would I never play for them? It would have to be The Elder. Sorry, Craig. It would have to be The Elder. Because that is so far removed from what that band is musically. They're going to go, what on earth is that? And even my second least favorite album, well, let's say least favorite album, like the era, like the Gene stuff in the 80s. I wouldn't want any newbies to hear the Gene stuff. But each of those 80s albums has some really strong Paul albums that I think would turn on the casual fan to become big Kiss fans, But to answer the questions you asked also before, where does Carnival of Souls fit? I would have to say second to last.
Oh, yeah?
Second to last. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And how about you, Claudia?
Well, my favorite of all time, it's going to be Alive, basically for the same reason that you just said. If someone comes and asks me, hey, I don't know what Kiss is, give me an album, and I want to know what this band does or did, I'm going to give him Alive. To me, that consolidates, the show and, the experience of what Kiss is. Of course, great tunes, from the first 3 albums, it's a no-brainer. The first trilogy, it's undeniable, that's a quintessential Kiss. But to me, the production and everything, we're not going to get into the details how much overdub was there, blah, blah, blah. But it's, it's a fantastic album. And my least, I think I said it many, many times, for a strange reason, I don't know, Asylum, I try hard, but no, to me, it's like it doesn't belong into the catalog at all. I don't know, and it doesn't have to do with the look. It has to do more with the sound, the guitars. We saw how Bruce Kulick, over time, he got great sound from his guitar, Revenge and all of that. But on Asylum, everything is kind of washed out, weak. I don't know. There's some good tunes, but it's as an album, it's my least my least favorite. And where Carnival of Souls fit into this, I have to say that over the last 6 months, it gained good positions there. I couldn't put them as my last, let's say, 3 or 5. I found some really, really interesting stuff in Carnival of Souls that we're going to discuss in detail later on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is our topic for tonight. We're going to talk Carnival of Souls. So we're going to deal with this topic from several perspectives. First, we'll take a look at the era in which the album was produced. Second, the lyrical content, and if indeed the lyrics are consistent with typical Kiss lyrics. And third, a what-if scenario. What if the reunion tour never happened and Carnival was released? Claudio, get us started.
All right. So, as you said before, Pas, it can easily be argued that one of the many issues with The Elder was the timing. And the album was released at a time when a lot of big hard rock bands were huge, such as Metallica, Motley Crue, Judas Priest, and the Elder obviously couldn't compete with such bands. So was the timing right for KISS to release Carnival of Souls back in 1997 kind of thing? You know, it was recorded in 95, but released in 97. Was it the right time, Patrick? What do you think?
Oddly enough, it would have been released in 1995. I say it would have been a good timing only because grunge was still kind of pretty much the thing. It was starting to die slowly. It died a slow death, but I think would it have worked? I don't think so, but the timing would have been good because it was pretty current. Mm-hmm. And KISS is not the only band to have tried the grunge sound. You know, Motley Crue, and they all tried it. So I think the timing would have been good, but I don't know how that would have turned out as far as popularity goes. Grunge fans, if you like KISS as a band from the 70s, I'm listening to Pearl Jam, I'm listening to, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, all those.
Alice in Chains, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I don't think there was any room for KISS or any other band from that era trying to give it their shot at it.
Okay. Craig?
Yeah, I fully agree with Patrick on that one. I think that in 95 it would have fit in more than 97, but I do believe that it was a contractual thing where they needed to release so many albums, and due to the fact that it was leaked out, I think that they had to put something out just to battle that, get some kind of gain off of it, monetary gain on it. But definitely during the time they got that out of their system, thank God they did, because I don't think after that they would have survived as long as they did. But I think that they just wanted to get on, like KISS does, sometimes following trends, and that time it was grunge, and they just wanted to follow the pack. But like I said, it's just because it was leaked and just because of contractual agreements, probably that's why it was put out.
Pasc, how about you?
In my opinion, I don't think timing was the issue here. KISS could have made the most amazing KISS album ever, and it still wouldn't have worked, in my opinion, because at that point, they were in a downward spiral. Revenge, an incredible album. The tour didn't do very well. Mm-hmm. So no matter what they released after Revenge, they were on their way down. And if it wasn't for the reunion tour, the band would have ended right then and there. I compare it very much to Creatures of the Night. Look what happened with Unmasked and The Elder. They were dead in the water. They came out with an incredible album with Creatures. Top-notch, pure, quintessential KISS, and it bombed. The tour bombed. Why? Not because of the timing, not because of the era. It's where the band was at the time. And they were pretty much dead in the water in 83, and were pretty much dead in the water in 95, 97. Well, 95.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, in my case, I think timing didn't help at all. I'm pretty much with Pat. It could have maybe helped a bit if it had been released back in 95. But we have to remember grunge had been around since the mid 80s, and it was called the Seattle sound, with bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, you name it, Pearl Jam. And as usual, I think that KISS wanted to get on the wagon. They are trying to sell more and trying to be more on the radio maybe, or more mainstream. But it didn't fit with KISS. So it's like, having a band trying to do something completely different. So the audience from grunge wasn't gonna adopt KISS, because KISS was something completely different before. So I agree with you, Pasc, too. So no matter what they did at that time, it was strange times for the band. The reunion was already in the works. There had been talk with the original lineup and everything. But again, I think that maybe if they had released that in '95, it could have helped a bit, but nothing too drastic, not a significant change.
All right, so it begs the question. So not including KISS and Carnival of Souls, what were your favorite bands or albums in the late 90s? So give us your top 10 list. And then answer the question, where does Carnival of Souls fit on that list? Does it have a place on that list? We'll start with you, Claudia.
Okay, so that's interesting. I had to go back to my younger days, 95, and then
Much
I could
younger.
barely, yeah, that's right. Could barely remember what I was doing at that time. But anyways, I was listening to Alanis Morissette. Fantastic. I loved, Jack Little Pill album. That was fantastic. So I remember digging out Foo Fighters, the self-titled album. I was into Blur. I was into Alice in Chains. Also the album Alice in Chains. Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like them. I really like them a lot. So that when they released One Hot Minute, that was really nice. Prince, AC/DC. With Ball Breaker. I was really big into AC/DC. I've always been, a big fan of AC/DC. And don't kill me on this one, but I liked at that time when Oasis and Radiohead, they released their own stuff. Radiohead with the bands and Oasis with Morning Glory. I love those albums. So that's what I was listening back in '95. And does Carnival fit into that? Not at all. Not at all. No. I as I said, I didn't like it when it was released. Now I'm digging it. There's stuff that I appreciate more with time. But no, it was not on my top 10. Not at all.
All right, Craig, I know how much you like doing homework. How about you?
Oh, I love it. So during that time, I was still listening to other bands, my favorite bands, Judas Priest, Dio, Saxon, stuff like that. But my top albums for that year were the Ozzy Osmosis album.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Van Halen came out with Balance. That was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Black Sabbath came out with Forbidden. Now, that was one of those albums that I can't remember the lead singer's name at the time, but it brought a different dimension to the band, definitely. Def Leppard came out with Vault. It was a greatest hits album.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. And Saxon came out with Dogs of War, which was a really good album. What else? Foo Fighters, like he had mentioned. Alice in Chains came out with their self-titled album. Wasp came out with an album called Still Not Black Enough. On the fence on that one, but there is a couple of really good tracks in there. Iron Maiden came out with X Factor. That was one of their least
did you like that
known
one?
albums. Listen, it had its good points and its bad points. It wasn't typical Maiden, but it was different. And AC/DC Ball Breaker, which is one of my favorites during that time.
Okay, Patrick?
Okay, I look like the student here who tries to find a reason he didn't do his homework. To be perfectly honest, at that time I was living in the past, meaning that I was not into any of the new music at all. I think hard rock was in a bad state. When you think about, Bruce Dickinson had left Iron Maiden. I got the X Factor album, which it's okay. It's okay. Osmosis, the Ozzy album was good. But, the other bands that I liked, Vince Neil was long gone from Motley Crue. CC DeVille had left Poison. Rob Halford went solo. Although Fight was a good album. But for some reason, nothing was too appealing to me. I tried hard to find something, but I went back to my old albums. Whether it was Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue, whether it was the first Poison album, the first Pretty Boy Floyd record, all those things, Iron Maiden. I was living in the past, because hard rock at that time, as I said, it was really not doing well at all.
And you, Busk?
When I checked out from KISS in the 80s, I really got into pop top 40, and yes, even dance music. And that's what I was listening throughout the 80s. I got back into KISS in 89 and I started to rediscover their music, but I was still listening to pop and top 40 stuff. So I remember in the late 90s, I was still listening to Bon Jovi, like Green Day, Alanis Morissette.
Yep.
No Doubt. Remember them? No
Yeah.
Doubt.
Yeah, of course.
Bryan Adams. Okay. Janet Jackson. Sorry, but it's true. Janet Jackson. Sheryl Crow.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
Good.
Firehouse.
Yeah, good band.
Yeah. Roxette. And Elton John.
Wow.
Elton John, I mean,
And just
wrong.
exactly. And just to say, I still like the poppy stuff and the top 40 stuff,
Of course.
In September, I'm going to see Duran Duran. In November, I'm going to see Depeche Mode. And then
Yeah.
KISS, but, I'm still into these bands.
Mhm.
Save the best for last.
Exactly. Now, did Carnival of Souls fit anywhere there? No, absolutely
Not at all.
not.
No, of course.
No way. No way.
No.
No way.
No. So yeah, that's interesting. The more we discuss this, the more we realize that timing was absolutely wrong for that album, and for the band at that time. So as you said at the beginning, Pask, so the album can be divided into 3 lyrical themes. So I really love the approach, man. So what you did with this script, Pask, I have to say, it's amazing, man.
Thank you.
I
Deep.
can't believe it.
Mhm.
Super nice. So the first one of those themes, we can call it Down and Out, okay, which songs like Childhood Sand, Rain, and I Walk Alone. So now the question is, do you believe this theme could resonate with KISS fans, considering the life the band members led? Pask, what do you think?
Absolutely not. I taught English years ago, and when we're teaching writing technique, we always tell the kids, the students, write about what you know, what you understand. It's real. It's genuine. When you hear these songs, maybe by another band it would be perceived differently, but by KISS, really, Down and Out. Come on. No, absolutely not. It just sounds fake. It's like, what are you guys singing about? Look where you are. Yeah, you paid your dues to get here, but you were in no way, shape, or form down and out. You had all the luck in the world. Yes, because you worked for it. But in no way was it down and out. It just sounds fake. And I listen to these songs. Like, I love Childhood's End because I just like the rhythm of the song. I enjoy the song. But if I start thinking about the lyrics, I go, come on, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Patrick, what about you?
I'm pretty much with Pascal on that one. Even Paul, if you remember, I read it, you probably all read his autobiography where he says when it came time for them to record that album, Paul was like, okay, we got to do a grunge album. Now, what am I going to complain about? That my maid didn't show up on time or at all during one day? He was like, what am I going to talk about that's so bad about my life? So, and especially KISS, where it was more the opposite, like life's good, believe in yourself, etc. They were really out of their comfort zone with that for sure. And it showed. I mean, again, there's some good stuff on it. I prefer that approach to Crazy Nights, but again, does it suit them any more than Crazy Nights? Probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Craig?
Yeah, it's kind of like fake KISS. I mean, it's the songs that were out there, they're doom and gloom, which grunge is, I feel, is kind of like based on sometimes, where it's doom and gloom and the songs are deep and the songs are dark and stuff like that. And it's during a lost period for them, right? They're just trying to hang on to what's the trend and such. And songs like Childhood's End, like I think that's don't quote me on this, but I think it's something to do with the Kurt Cobain thing or something.
Yeah.
That when he blew his mind.
Yeah, blew his mind, yeah.
Yeah. And I Walk Alone, I mean, we all forget that was a really stellar piece for Bruce Kulick.
Yep.
that whether it's dark or not, I mean, it's a great song, and I think it's a great contribution, and I think he should have gotten more share on other albums, because it just proved that he could do it.
Yeah. Well, look, in my case, going back to the question, I don't think it doesn't fit at all. I couldn't find any direct connection, of the lyrics with the band, members' life or even past life or anything. But I also agree that, these guys are characters, right? Not only on stage, but also as musicians. And if you're gonna write about, if you're gonna play grunge, you have to write about abuse and neglect and addiction and social isolation.
Yeah.
If not, it's not a grunge album. Now we can discuss whether or not that's in the nature of Kiss. Of course not. Okay. But it's not even, Dynasty and Unmasked, when they were writing about stuff. They were not writing about partying as the first, 6 albums. They were writing about, dancing and all the stuff. So that could also be fake at that time. So, but yeah, no connection whatsoever. But that's, that's good and bad, because that makes this album so special. It's in the catalog, and it's a grunge album in the Kiss catalog. So, like it or not, it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it only gets worse from here. The second theme, the tortured persona, with songs such as Hate, In My Head, I Confess. Now, we've all read the bios. We all know every member of the band has issues. But can you really say tortured? Really? Pat?
No, I don't think they were tortured. Again, it sounds like we all said fake. So to say they're tortured, I mean, from what you read Gene and Paul's biographies, yeah, maybe they had some issues in their childhoods, just like the rest of us. But tortured is a bit of a strong word. Mm-hmm. Again, you could tell they really had to, they worked hard to create something which, like even Gene in his book said, the results weren't very convincing.
Yeah.
Okay, Craig?
Yeah, I think also the word tortured is not there. I think the word more like confused would suit those ones better. It's just a period in time for them that is with the grunge era, that it's more of a confused state. Like, where do they fit in now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I feel.
Okay, Claudia?
Well, same. I'm with the boys. Not at all. To me, it has nothing to do with torture. But to me, I think they went to the extreme with those songs. They kind of magnified what they wanted to write about. I think they went too far without even realizing. So because it's not common ground for them. Writing about grunge. So then. You don't know where the limit is. You know what I mean? So they went that far, but no, that made it to me more obvious that that was not their cup of tea. They didn't know how to write about this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You, Pasc?
I've said it in previous episodes. The amazing thing about being a Kiss fan is that we all have similar things in common. We love fantasy. That's why we love Kiss. We're into sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars. We're into horror movies. We're into comic books, DC, Marvel. We're all the same. But a typical Kiss fan is not a tortured soul. We don't resonate. The typical Kiss fan would not resonate with this music. And people who do not listen to Kiss. They listen to real grunge, real tortured souls. Even Ace and Peter, they were into alcohol abuse and drug abuse. They weren't tortured. They were just having a blast, and they took it too far. But they didn't do it because they were tortured souls. So it doesn't resonate at all. Makes no sense.
True.
Agreed.
So the final theme, getting deeper into the lyrics, it's the seduction from those in power. Seduction from those in power. So with songs such as Seduction of the Innocent, and It Never Goes Away. So we all know that Kiss has dealt with this theme on several Kiss albums. Do you believe these songs are closer to a typical Kiss tune, Craig?
Okay, here's where I break out. I think that basically the Seduction of the Innocent is a Psycho Circus vibe. If you listen to that song and listen to the songs on Psycho Circus, I did the analysis, in my opinion, it fits in there. So I think that they could have put it on that album and wouldn't have missed a beat, I don't think. Never Goes Away has that revenge feel to it. I believe that would fit on that album. So in a way, yeah, I do think they do have a Kiss sound to them, but on a different era.
Yeah. Oh, great point. Patrick?
For me, I mean, from my perspective, I can't see any Kiss related things to them. I mean, great points, but I tried very hard to see. For me, it's Kiss experimenting a la The Elder, basically. So yeah, there's probably tiny little bit of Kiss, but it's more them experimenting. So therefore, I tried very hard to find a Kiss connection to it, but it's very hard. It's hard work, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, I find the Kiss connection really remote.
Really weak. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Pask, what about you?
Okay, this is an interesting question because Kiss has done songs about the seduction of the innocent. You know, people in power trying to, you know, he talks about priests and, you know, things like that. Thou shalt not, for example, on Revenge.
Yeah.
So I think lyrically and thematically, these are typical Kiss songs. And it's interesting because this, if they're going to do a grunge album, this should have been the direction that the band took. Talk about what you know, seduction of the innocent, partying, women, sex, and grungify it.
Yeah.
Grungify that stuff. And maybe that would have resonated more with the fans. Would it have worked? I don't know. But if they wrote a really good song and grungify it, but it stuck to their theme, I think it would be more interesting than how the album as a whole turned out, in my opinion.
I think it does fit better than other songs into the album. I wouldn't say that I feel a strong connection of these tunes with the typical Kiss, but it's true that it's closer, you know, than other songs in the album. But I think I liked what Craig said at the beginning. You know, I think to me they were so confused. And again, coming back to what you were saying, Pas, they were, you know, in the downslope so bad that I think they lost completely identity. They didn't know, you know, what to write about, and it's like if it wasn't Kiss, you know, a different band. Yeah, if I believe these songs are closer, maybe a bit closer, but nothing compared to a typical Kiss album.
Sounds familiar, right? It's like history repeating itself. They were confused back in and they did The Elder.
Yeah.
What the hell were you thinking? Now they're confused. They're doing something completely off. Carnival of Souls. What the heck are they thinking?
Yeah.
They didn't learn from the first time, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? It's if I may, it's well, now of course, you know, we're getting just to the end of the road and everything, but it's hard to keep up a band for 50 years, 50 years, all right? So you as a person, you go through many different phases in 50 years. And actually you're an artist and you have to write about it and you have to be liked and you have to sell. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, through the 50 years, definitely. I mean, there's different types of musics that are popular at certain times, and how are you going to adapt and how are you going to transition and all that kind of stuff to stay current. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You know? And by the way, Pascal, I looked up Wikipedia and grungified is not a word.
I thought maybe I'd create one.
I liked it, but it's not a word.
All right, guys. So let's have some fun with the next question. So it's often said that Carnival of Souls is a sister album to Revenge. So if you can create a 10-song greatest hits compilation using songs only from Revenge and Carnival of Souls, what would your album look like? We'll start with Claudio this time.
Okay. Can I disagree with this sister album statement, or
I've actually heard that somewhere.
yeah?
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere. If anybody could correct me, just put it down in the comments, because that's what I heard that.
No. I'm not challenging what you said. I'm just thinking here that to me it's like, yeah, okay, it's heavy. You know, Revenge was heavy too, but Revenge was really, you know, heavy rock. You know, it wasn't grunge. But anyways, so having said that, I have to say I picked 5 songs of each. Okay, just to be fair. I could pick from Carnival of Souls. I could pick Hate, Master and Slave. I could pick Jungle, that I think it's a great tune. I Confess, and then In a Mirror. That's from Carnival. And then from one of my faves, you know, Revenge, it's going to be Unholy. It was tough to pick 5 because I could have picked the whole album. But anyway, so Unholy, Tough Love, Heart of Chrome, I Just Wanna, and Take It Off.
Okay. Good. Craig?
Yeah, this was another hard one to do because I think I have a lot of scratches on my list here that maybe not, maybe yes, no, maybe.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
I put Unholy, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, Paralyzed, Jungle, I Just Wanna, Tough Love, Domino, I Confess, Childhood's End, and I Walk Alone.
Okay. This could be an episode in itself, actually. This
Oh yeah, that I love this one.
Yeah, Patrick.
Okay. Do I agree that they're sister records? There are similarities between the two. I would agree. Now, they're similar.
Grungified.
What's that?
Grungified.
Oh yeah. That's a good word. I like that. If I was going to take four songs, I could only come up with 4 songs off Carnival of Souls, which Hate, Master and Slave, In My Head, and I Walk Alone.
Okay.
As far as Revenge goes, well, it was hard. I have Unholy, Take It Off, Spit, Domino, Paralyzed. I Just Want.
Okay.
You pass.
So for me, obviously, I cheated a little bit. I didn't take 10 songs. I took 12 because what I did was, because Revenge, it's nearly a perfect album. And what do you take off, you know? So what I did was I took my favorites from Revenge and my favorites from Carnival and put them together. So in order, the first song off the compilation album, Unholy. The second song, Take It Off. I would replace Tough Love with Childhood's End.
Okay.
Number 4, I would replace Spit with Master and Slave. Then number 5, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. 6, Domino. 7, Heart of Chrome. I love those songs. 8, Thou Shalt Not. 9, Every Time I Look at You. Number 10, I would replace Paralyzed with Seduction of the Innocent. This one was tough, but I had to do it. Number 11, I replaced I Just Wanna with I Confess. And even tougher, the great, late Eric Carr, but replacing Car Jam with I Walk Alone.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, good exercise. That's good.
If I can say something real quick.
Of course.
Interesting how, Carnival of Souls ended with Bruce Kulick singing I Walk Alone, and then the reunion happens, which kind of
Yeah.
He did walk alone afterwards.
Absolutely.
Boy, true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Poor guy.
He unplugged his amp and he walked. He went home. Yeah.
But he found a good gig in Grand Funk Railroad and is doing well. So, happy for him.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Very unfair, I think, but who knows what happened during the negotiations with the reunion stuff.
But you know what's funny about that is that Eric Singer is a session player. He's a gun for hire, and he was the most upset about what happened, more so than Bruce.
Yeah.
And he probably saw the cracks in the mirror happening even more probably than the other guys.
Well, it was also his idea to have Peter come on stage at the convention.
Yeah, it's like giving it the darts,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the what if scenario. Okay, so what if the reunion tour never happened and Carnival of Souls was released as planned? What would the future of KISS have looked like? Pusk, on to you.
Oh, the irony here does not escape me. Mm-hmm. What would have happened in '83 if it just ended with the Elder? And even creatures. If they didn't take off the makeup, it would have been over.
Yeah, you think so?
I think if they didn't take off the makeup,
creatures? Okay.
If they didn't take off the makeup, it would have been over. Come on, such an amazing album, and the tour failed.
Yeah.
No, it would have been. In my opinion, I think it would have been over. And now here is history repeating itself. They came out with an incredible album, Revenge, but again on a downward spiral. They come out with Carnival of Souls. And if it wasn't for the reunion tour, it would have been over. These guys, how they survived so long, it's a miracle. It really is a miracle. All these chance events that kept them on top and kept them going. It is just an incredible story. But there is no what if. It would have been, in my opinion, it would have been over right then and there. No place to go from there.
But I think if I may pass, they saw that coming, right? When they came up with the convention tour, in '95.
Yeah.
And they revived all the nostalgia and all the stuff, already, they knew that they were going to get Ace and Peter back in the lineup and, do the reunion tour. So, but as Craig said, they were forced to release this album because of leaking and stuff. If not, maybe we could have never been exposed to this material. Never, ever. Mm-hmm. Could have been demos. Who knows? But what do you think?
I think they, had the reunion not happened, I think they would have tried their hand at releasing the album and trying to tour behind it, but it would have been probably something similar to when Craig mentioned Black Sabbath releasing Forbidden. I remember them, it was Tony Iommi basically, but playing the Metropolis. Nothing wrong with playing the Metropolis, but when you've been on the higher part of the music business, it must be depressing. KISS would have suffered a similar fate. I'm pretty sure the tour would have been a disaster, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not because of the quality or anything like that, but
they were done.
Yeah, they were done. That version of KISS was done. As Gene said in the book, and he was right. I agree with him. It was like nowhere else they could go, unfortunately.
Yeah. Craig, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think that Pat nailed it on the head there. They would have become a club band. I think they would have ended their days doing small little venues, and that's about it. I mean, KISS is great at reinventing the brand.
Mm-hmm.
They did that '95 thing. Don't kid yourself. It was a ploy to find out what still sparks out there. Mm-hmm. Seeing the reactions of the fans, seeing the old vintage stuff, and saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we should start back with this. This is something that we can reinvent the brand again." And that's basically what happened. After that, I mean, if that reunion thing didn't happen, I'm pretty sure they would have dwindled and gone off in the sunset.
And Claudio, before you go on, when the Elder came out and then they released Creatures, they thought, wow, this is going to be an incredible album. We're going to be back with this.
Yeah.
I don't believe they felt that way with the reunion. I agree with Craig. I don't think they were so sure about themselves if this thing would work or not. So would the convention be something where they're testing the waters, Then they got the reaction with the Unplugged with Ace and Peter there. They were testing the waters. But how on earth can they put their makeup back on? And they were surprised that their first show sold out in minutes. Of course it would, but they actually were surprised. That says a lot about their state of mind as a band at the time.
And don't forget that Hot in the Shade video too, where they threw on the makeup again just to give you a little tease, you know?
And even the concert, a lot of classics. Hot in the Shade,
Good point.
Yeah, well, I think it could have been the end of Kiss. You know, they were in the slope down, and as you said before. But something that I cannot understand, and I would like to share this with you guys and have your opinion. How on earth is it possible that after releasing Revenge, that I'm sure that it's in the top 5 for almost every Kiss fan? How is it possible that in 2 years or 3 years they went down so fast? Maybe it was not the right time to release that kind of music. Maybe it was not the right time to get Bob Ezrin, back in the camp, because it's one of the best albums ever. And then we're talking about maybe it was the end of Kiss after 2 years of releasing Revenge. So they came up with Kiss My Ass and all the stuff and nostalgia, but what was happening? I cannot understand, because if you were to tell me, okay, with Revenge, it was a disaster. Commercially, maybe it wasn't that great, but musically speaking, it was one of the top-notch, one of the best albums, and still they seem to be down the slope. So I cannot understand. What do you guys think?
I think they were in a downward spiral, even with Hot in the Shade. The only reason that tour made it so big, because of Forever. It hit the top 40. It hit the top 10.
Radio
resonated with the average person, the non-typical Kiss fan. That's the only reason it was so big. They didn't have a Forever for Revenge. Every time I look at you, I love that song, and I think they should have promoted it more. Maybe it would have been more popular. But at that point, it's like they don't have their Forever. They were going nowhere.
But I think also the state of hard rock, as I mentioned earlier, was, the general hard rock was not doing well. So I think Kiss, unfortunately, was into that category. So that played a part as well. And like Pask said, having no hits, just, you don't go anywhere.
Maybe because of lack of marketing during those albums too, I always said if you released Creatures before Elder, I think they still would have had the makeup on and they wouldn't have gone through that phase. It's just a point I have, but there was no marketing for Creatures. There was no marketing for Revenge. It was
true.
You know what I'm saying? It was no airplay, no nothing. It was hard for him to break back through without the support, right?
Yeah, I think it was around that time when more than ever when Kiss basically became a cult band just for the fans. It was not mainstream, So it was a great album, but nobody was going to dig, except for Forever.
For Die Hard.
Nobody was going to dig, other songs, But
no, but that's the thing, right? Everything aligned during the Hot in the Shade tour. With Rise to It, when they put on the makeup, it intrigued the Kiss fans. During the tour, they brought out a lot of classic songs. It intrigued the Kiss fans. That logo came out. We haven't, it's like, oh man, Kiss is back. And then Forever, that intrigued the mainstream. Everything worked out. They didn't have the stars aligned during Revenge. It was just the cult Kiss fans.
Yeah.
That's it. Where else could it go? It was a small niche at the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or I call it the nostalgia sections, where it's like, remember this, remember them. Oh yeah, I remember seeing these guys.
Exactly.
it brought back memories for second generation, third generation fans.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting because I'm thinking that maybe if the reunion tour had taken place right after Hits, right after Hot in the Shade, it could have been huge, even bigger than what it was in '96. Don't you think?
The timing would have been better, I think. I think you're right. Nothing grungified. Yeah, I think it would have been better.
Grungified. Who knows?
Film of one album, Grungified Kiss Classics.
Okay, guys. So we talked a lot about Carnival, obviously, but the one thing we didn't talk about was our personal preference. So we're going to close off the show with our final thoughts, with your final thoughts on the album. But before we do that, one final question. What are your favorite songs on the album from worst to best? We'll start with Craig.
Okay, so worst, it would be I Will Be There, It Never Goes Away, Master and Slave, In the Mirror, Bradley's Favorite Rain. I shout out to Brad. In My Head, Seduction of the Innocent, Jungle, Hate, I Confess, I Walk Alone, and Childhood's End would be the top one for me.
Nice. All right, Pat?
My least favorite is Childhood's End. After that is In the Mirror, I Confess, It Never Goes Away, Seduction of the Innocent, I Will Be There. And then my four top ones would be I Walk Alone, In My Head, Hate, and my favorite is absolutely Master and Slave.
Okay. Claudio.
Okay. My least favorite, In My Head, then It Never Goes Away, Childhood's End, I Will Be There, Seduction of the Innocent, I Confess, then In the Mirror. And the top 5 to me are Hate, Rain, I Walk Alone, Jungle, and number 1 for Master and Slave.
Oh, okay.
You, Pascal?
Okay, for me, number 12, In My Head. 11, Hate. 10, It Never Goes Away. 9, I Will Be There. 8, Rain. 7, Jungle. 6, In the Mirror. Top 5, Master and Slave, I Walk Alone, I Confess, Seduction of the Innocent, and Childhood's End.
That's your favorite, Childhood's End?
Yeah.
Are both number ones, or me and Pask and Pat and Claudio? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
We had Master and Slave, and we had Childhood's End.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, for our closing remarks, summarize basically your overall impression of the album. Claudio.
Well, if I have to put it from 1 to 10, I would give it maybe a 5, 5.5 or something like that. No more than that. It's not in the top bottom, as I said, but it's not on my, not even close to my faves. Again, just general thoughts. To me, when I look at the cover, it shows to me like a different band. Confusion. They were trying to find who they were at that time. And again, maybe if it had been produced, if they had put more kind of really meat and potatoes on the production for the songs, maybe it could have done better. But no, really a confusing album to me. Strange times. Yeah.
Okay. Closing comments, Pat.
To me, here's a band that has no real direction. It feels like they're saying, oh, yeah, we have that album to do, because we can say what we want about The Elder or Revenge or even Crazy Nights. They were focused. This is what we have to do, and this is where we're going. And, Crazy Nights, they tried the pop route. The Elder, they tried the progressive route. They were really focused. But with that album, you see like, yeah, okay, let's do this, but we're planning the reunion.
Yeah.
So the focus, you can tell, isn't really, really there. That's how I feel when I look at it. Like you said, it's confused, no real focus. It's nothing really. It's a big question mark for that period.
Okay, Greg.
Yeah, rename the album Carnival of Confusion rather than Carnival of Souls. But it holds a place in KISS history. Like I said, you want to listen to pop, you listen to Unmasked, you listen to Dynasty. If you want heavy, you listen to Creatures, you listen to Revenge. And if you want to be past grungified, you listen to Carnival of Confusion.
Yeah. I was gonna say exactly that. This episode is interesting because we really took apart this album lyrically, the era, the what ifs, and from an outsider's point of view, I think it came off very negative, very down on this album. But I think this album is an important part of KISStory, because I love the point you made, Claudio, that like a person, we have our ups and downs. And for them to be around for 50 years, there has to be some downs. It can't be all ups,
Yeah,
and this is sort of like, the band is like a reflection on the human condition. It's what a person goes through in their life. And if you look at everything the band went through in the past, it made them who they are today.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change a thing about their past, because look what it made them today. So having said that, I believe that Carnival of Souls definitely deserves to be a huge part of KISStory, and definitely a huge part of their legacy that is KISS.
Yeah. And you know what? Just to add to that, Pascal, I have to say that I was thinking, as you guys were talking, that, not only as a band, but, Paul and Gene, they were going through a very interesting period of time. They were aging, they were having, kids. They were having, Nick and Evan, and they were creating a family. And those guys, I think maybe they went to the extreme to write about, social isolation and the typical grunge, lyrics. But maybe they were questioning themselves, as a person, as a father. They were not going to be writing about, chicks and partying and all. So that was in the 70s, that was gone. Maybe a little bit on the 80s. And now you have these guys who are, growing up and, having families and all of that. So maybe there was something related to what was happening with them also, right? Who knows?
You can't sing Christine 16 in your 60s and 70s, that's for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
Christine 73.
Yeah.
Going blind here.
For sure.
So, guys, that was really an interesting discussion. Thank you, Craig and Pat, for coming on the show. And Craig, I know you have to leave for work 5 minutes ago. So thank you so much for taking the time coming on the show and having this amazing discussion on Carnival of Souls. Yeah, there's always time for KISS.
Always time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gents. It's been a pleasure.
To the KISS Army, what is your opinion on Carnival of Souls? Do you believe it's an underrated album? Does it belong in the legacy that is KISS? Tell us in the comment section or message us at talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, Automatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, KISS Army.